What's up, my dudes? This is the track review of 2017 Raceway Park made by Kyle MX322. So, what we have here is a pretty local vibe style of track, and it's quite interesting whenever you become pretty good at this game and then you go back and ride on these, what you would call more like local, realistic, sort of amateur beginner style tracks, if you know what I'm saying. Like, this is a lot more like what you would ride on in real life if you're like just a amateur or something like that. So what's interesting about it when you get pretty good and you go back to these tracks is the fact that you realize you can go just wicked fast on it, and it's actually, you almost have to be a little bit more patient on these kind of tracks if you're pretty good at this game, because you're going to end up going like 3 times faster than the creator anticipated you to go. So that's kind of, you know, what makes it a little bit tricky, but I think this is a perfect track for somebody that just started in MX Simulator. I feel like the traction's pretty good on it. Doesn't feel weird. The jumps are fairly mellow. The corners have a nice, pretty good flow to them. Everything just feels like a realistic track, and I'm guessing this is a actual real-life replica track here. You guys gotta excuse me not knowing every single real-life track out there. Like, I know some people got a little bit upset about that whenever I say, hey man, I don't really know this real-life track. Like, dude, you honestly expect me to know every single real-life supercross and motocross track? Like, that's impossible. Like, I don't live in California. I don't go ride on all those tracks and stuff, dude. Like, yeah, I've seen certain videos of tracks, and I've seen a lot of the tracks out there, but I'm not going to sit here and act like I know some real-life track when I really don't. You get what I'm saying? Like, the one I'm talking about specifically is the Castillo Ranch track review that I did. You know, I was like, man, I don't really know much about this track. I mean, obviously I've heard of it. Obviously I've seen videos on it. Obviously I've seen Ken Roczen do his video on it. Like, it's not like I've never ever heard of the track or seen the track or anything, but sometimes when you've never been to the real life track and you don't really know it, like for instance, you know, Glen Helen or something like that, if it's not quite like that, sometimes you can get them confused and twisted in your head. So it's just a lot easier to say, I don't really know this track very well, versus like acting like you know it, even though you really don't, you know? So some people freaked out about that, like, oh, Spencer, you need to do more research before you do a track. Dude, it is a video game, okay? I'm not reviewing the real-life track. I'm reviewing the in-game replica of the real-life track. It's not that big of a deal, man. Like, I promise you. I mean, good God, you really don't know how a track is unless you've rode on it in real life anyways. And I can't just go to all these tracks in real life before I do an in-game review of them. Like, damn, dog, chill out, you know? It ain't that big of a deal. I mean, even the replica reviews that I do, like, I'm just reviewing what the track is like. It's not so much that I'm comparing it to the actual real life track, like how accurate it is to it, because then it just gets confusing. You know, like if I tried to do that with all of them, that would be really hard to do, because like I'm saying, I haven't rode on these tracks in real life, so it would be just basing it off of like a helmet cam of it or something, and some of the real life tracks don't even have helmet cam videos of it. And then how do you compare the real life review of the track? Like, you just can't do it. So it's just easier to, any of these replica tracks, it's a lot easier just to review them like they are, not like trying to compare them to the real life version of it. I mean, I may make some comparisons if it's whatever, like a Glen Helen, even though I've never even rode on that track, but it's not like that's not really where the rating of the track is coming from, basically, is what I'm saying here. So, yeah, as you can see on all the off-track stuff, looks pretty realistic. I mean, it all kind of pulls together to enhance that local track vibe. You could see myself, I was getting a little bit ahead of myself on this track in some places where I would just going a little bit faster than I probably should have been in some places, and that's what I was saying. You kind of, when you're at a certain speed level, you kind of get ahead of yourself. But one thing I've noticed about doing YouTube and motocross gaming is whenever you do so many different things. So for instance, I'll go in here and do like a review on a 450 or whatever, and then Meanwhile, I'd been riding on a 125 two-stroke in this game. I'd been riding on a 350 four-stroke, trying to learn that again for a video. I'd been riding on a 250 two-stroke, doing that for a video. I'd been on other motocross games like Alive and Reflex, and then when you're doing all that, it really does something to your mind muscle memory of like how good you are on the 450 in particular in this game. So it takes you like a certain amount of time to get it back. You know, you kind of confuse your muscle memory when you go to all these other bikes and you go to all these other games. And I specifically know that just from the YouTube side of it. Like, the YouTube portion of videos is what makes you do that. Like, you know, do all these different games and all these different bikes at like a really quick sort of period of time that you go through. So that's another little bit of a reason. You know, I hadn't been riding on the 450 quite as much as I probably needed to keep that edge with it. So it was it felt like a rocket ship on this track, I'm not gonna lie. It was pretty cool, but you can see different line options inside, outside. Not like 1,000 ruts or anything. Pretty standard local track. Everything just fits into it with this track. I do like the width of it. Oh, check out that little wheelie ski right there, dude. I do like the width of it. I enjoy when people can go in here and make simplistic motocross tracks, but still keep them like a realistic width to them. Seems like a lot of times when you get these styles of tracks like this, it seems like the width of the tracks just get way too wide, and then you instantly lose your realism right there. So but like this style of a track, I think a lot of it is just having like realistic natural filling corners and not having like a super flat filling corner or something like that. That's a monster Pastrana huck right there. You can actually do a triple into the rollers, and I knew I was going to over jump that one time because it's risky as fuck, dude. I mean, you're coming in there wide ass open third, fourth gear on the 450, just hucking it all the way. You're completely guessing basically, so it can definitely make it pretty tricky there. But that jump right there, that's probably the one that you want to make sure you let off on, or you'll over jump it into the face of that next double. But every other jump is, I mean, I guess this one, yeah, you kind of got to get on the brakes a little bit so you don't shoot off the side of the track. But for the most part, it's really not that bad when you look at it. Like a lot of these beginner sort of local vibe level tracks here, a lot of times they're so easy that if you ride on them with a 450, you're just clear over jumping everything by 300 feet, you know, and then it just kind of gets annoying like that. But this one really wasn't too bad. I mean, that double right there, it's that little double right there, that's actually pretty fun to try to hit that on a 450 because you're hitting a lip that's smaller than the actual landing. So you really got to try to hook it over, and then you're going into the face of that, which has got a pretty long landing on it, kind of stair-step down landing, so you can hit that just about as hard as you want to. Then you come around here pretty quick. You got some roughness coming into that corner. I really like how he did his braking bumps on this track. They're that cool, like mellow, but it's still something. So it's not like crazy peaked out, bizarre feeling braking bumps, and also it's not so light of braking bumps that it doesn't even affect you at all. It's like the kind of speed you get going, like the speed you can get going on this track really seems to match the roughness that he has on it. I think that's one thing that you'll notice. It's pretty cool on it. So yeah, overall I thought it was a pretty fun little track here. So you can see the skybox, kind of a little bit of a cloudy sort of thing going on. You can actually triple, I think you can triple that little jump right there too. But yeah, it's always fun seeing these local styles of tracks like this, because it really gives you, especially if you're a real life riding person, it gives you a bit of a feeling like you're in real life a bit more than some of these other like, you know, the pro style tracks and stuff if you're not a pro in real life. So it's kind of cool to ride on some of these tracks in MX Simulator, because that's what you're used to in real life. So and I think we all start on this, I guess, in real life. So I think everyone kind of knows what I'm talking about when I say local track vibe. All of them are pretty much like this right here. So off the track, you got all the people, all the trucks, all the shits out there. So definitely kind of plays into all that local track feeling as well. Got the American flag over there. What's up? Salute, dude. I like that. And then you can see the different rut options. Basically just double berm in the corner, double berm rut, whatever you want to call it. It's pretty much what it is. Pretty standard. You see this a lot in MX Simulator. It's pretty rare to see like a triple rut style corner. You know, that's a very rare thing to find because, like I've always said, it's hard to implement that in a realistic style corner. Oh, that next corner has like 4 ruts. What the fuck? But it's kind of hard to implement that many ruts in a realistic width corner in this game, just because of how the game is in a sense. But I mean, there is definitely different options on this track, no doubt about it. You can see right here 3 different options there. So like if you were on a 125 and you sucked at the game, you could just take all the outsides and still be able to hit some stuff pretty well. So definitely opens up the options for different bikes and skill levels and stuff like that on the track. Right there you got inside lines. It's not like a realistic ruddy corner, I guess is what I'm trying to say here. It's a lot more just like smooth, typical MX Simulator berm ruts in the corner, which I think is pretty typical for these local vibe tracks as well, especially ones that don't get too deep. I know in real life on some of the local tracks, they can get pretty deep and get all kinds of ruts through them, but a lot of times you do see this like basically 2 line options in every corner, even on the real life local tracks. So it's not that bad of a thing, simply because it's on this kind of track here. So you can see in some areas he's actually, you can see where he's like not really put a decal down. You see this right here where he's like missing a bit of a decal. He did that in a couple of places, and the only reason I'm pointing this out is because I've done it. Everyone that's made a track in this game has done that. There's so much that goes into making a track. Like sometimes you're just gonna forget a couple little places where there's decals needed to be put down. I've done it at least 100 times, you know. It's just hard to make sure every little cubical inch of the track is got a decal on it, because you're placing so many decals on the track. So it makes it to where sometimes you kind of, you know, you miss a spot here and there. It's almost like painting in a sense, but even at the same time, though, I feel like that adds a little bit of character to the track. I know it sounds stupid, but I've always thought this. Like in certain areas, when you, especially if you have a good like undertone tile map coloration, where it doesn't look weird, like it's not like the default green grass or something like that under the track. When it's like this, that almost looks like blue grooved or something, you know, and it just adds a little bit of variation to the on track in areas. So it's weird to say that because it is basically a mistake, but sometimes it can make the track look even better in certain areas. So check this homie out. What's up, dog? Why does that dude look so familiar? Is he play on a movie or something? Looks like he's going hunting. Oh, but either way, yeah, man, I'm gonna give this track a, let me see here. I was in third person. Fun whip scrub style jump right there. Nice little road he's got off the track, and the fence and the grass growing up around the fence. Pretty cool how he did that. Grass on the side of some jump faces and stuff. So overall, I'm gonna give this thing a I'm gonna give it an 8 overall. I mean, I think that it's pretty good. It's something that feels different. The jumps don't feel weird. Everything just kind of feels fairly normal. Everything fits into the vibe he was going for. So it's a pretty solid track right here, man, for any skill level. It's fun if you're really quick at the game, like I'm saying, because you feel like a god on this track. Yeah, dude, god, for sure. Oh, man. Just be patient with it first couple laps, unlike I was here. But yeah, and I would say the difficulty is probably You could say it's medium, I guess, even though it's simple, but yet there is roughness and there is rut lines in the corners. And some of these bigger jumps, especially if you're hitting that kind of stuff, then yeah, it's going to be more like medium difficulty or something. But either way, man, appreciate you guys watching all the videos. Later, dudes.